Hello everyone. So we'll start with the concept builder format today. In this, we'll discuss some concepts and we'll discuss the past CAT questions which has appeared in the last 2 or 3 years, and we'll go by the topic. So we'll start off with the percentage part today. So let's directly move to the topic. Okay. Now, if we'll consider percentage, the important things which you need to keep in mind is whenever I'm dealing with the percentage part, so we should always keep the base value as 100 or else 1. We should not go by the assumption. We should not go by the basic assumption as x. So we can take the assumption as any number. I can take any number as an assumption in these cases. So the comfortable numbers will definitely be either 100 or else 1. So we should always take these two things. That's the only thing which you need to keep in mind when I'm dealing with the percentage part. Second important thing is the important topics which you should keep in mind is the percentage change part. So first one is percentage increase or decrease. We know the formula for the percentage increase or decrease is nothing but, if I'm talking percentage increase or else decrease, it's change with respect to initial value in terms of percentage. So final minus initial divided by initial into 100, right? So this is one of the part which you need to keep in mind, because in the past few years, whether it's data interpretation or else the normal calculation, we somewhere deal with the percentage increase or else decrease part. So it's not necessary that it will be based on the percentage. It can be in terms of profit, loss and discount, then simple interest and other values, compound interest and other values. Next one is in the successive change. So successive change is what? Successive change is the case, suppose I have the product of two things, A and B is equal to C. Let's say I'm increasing this by A% and I'm increasing this by B%. Obviously there is a change in the final value. Let's say that's nothing but C%. The overall value is always supposed to be A plus B plus AB by 100%. Ideally this is not successive change, but I can utilize the same thing in terms of successive change. Let's say suppose there is a value A, I have increased it by A% and further I have increased the value by B%. Now that will be considered a successive change. There also the value is supposed to be A plus B plus AB by 100%. Right? So now here the thing which you need to keep in mind is the direction, whether it's an increment or else an reduction here. Suppose if the change would have been, let's say A is increased by A% and B is reduced by B% here, then the final value will either increase or decrease by C% here. So the value is supposed to be, since A is positive, it's positive A, B is negative, so negative B minus AB by 100. So positive into negative %, this will be the value. So with respect to change, you can change the sign. So that's a successive change. And the third case is no change in the final outcome. So very commonly asked format. Let's say A I have increased by some percentage, A%, and simultaneously I have reduced B by B%, so that there is no change in the final outcome. So there are two important things which you need to keep in mind whenever you are dealing with these. If the percentage increase is given, I'll just mark this thing, which is in terms of numerator by denominator. Obviously any percentage value can be written in terms of fraction. Let's say 60% is the value given. So I can write 60% as what? 60 by 100, or can be written as 3 by 5, right? So it can be written in terms of fraction. So the first case is if the increment is given, my reduction should always be numerator divided by denominator plus numerator. Very useful in a lot of cases, especially in DI nowadays. In the past 2 or 3 years they have not asked any question related to this, but in DI, in other exams, they ask the questions related to this concept. So if the increment is given, I can find out the percentage reduction. Similarly, if the percentage reduction is given, let's say numerator by denominator, my increment is supposed to be numerator divided by denominator minus numerator. So these are the few concepts in percentage which you need to keep in mind. Maximum time your questions will be somehow somewhere based on these basic concepts only. So you should be thorough with these basic concepts. Now let's see what are the questions appeared in the past 2 or 3 years. Now first one, it's given in the final examination Vishnu scored 52% and Asha, so let's mark B and A, scored 64%. So I'll consider A has scored 64%. Let's go by the basic assumption, and B who have scored 52%, right? The mark obtained by B is 23 lesser, and that by A is 34 more than the mark obtained by R. So there is a person R in between. This person R have scored 23 more than B, or else B have scored 23 lesser than this, and A have scored 34 more than this person. In other sense, if we'll add these two, that's nothing but 57. The gap between A's marks and B's marks is nothing but 57 here. In terms of percentage, the difference is how much? The difference is nothing but 12%. Can I say that this 12 percentage point should be equal to 57? Right? So I'll just go by the basic analysis here. Then the mark obtained by Geeta, who have scored 84%, should be how much? Let's go by the basic analysis only. Right, so this is 12, 84, 7 times. That means the mark here should be nothing but 7 times of this. So that's nothing but 399. My value should be nothing but 399. So we should always go by some basic assumption only. Do not go by the proper calculation part. Try to utilize the basic assumption. Let's take the next one. In May, John bought the same amount of rice and same amount of wheat as he had bought in April. Okay, so I have April and May. I'll just mark this thing, April and May. So John bought the same amount of wheat as he bought in April. So let's say in April he bought W kg assume of wheat, and he have bought W kg here. Right, similarly as well as rice, right? So rice, let's say R kg and R kg, these two are the numbers given, but he spent 150 more due to price increase in rice and wheat. So rice is increased by, rice is basically here, it is increased by 20% and wheat is increased by 12%, right? That's a condition given here. If John has spent 450 on rice in April, okay, so now here if John has spent 450 on rice in April, so according to this he spent 450 here. So 20% of 450 is how much? 90. He should spend 90 extra in May, and the total is how much? Total is nothing but 150 extra here, right? So that represents, if this person have spent 90 extra, this person should have spent 60 extra here, and this 60 should represent 12%. Right? So they have asked, then how much did he spend on wheat in May? Right? So 12% is nothing but 60. Overall is supposed to be in May, it is supposed to be 112%, right? So let's find out this. So 12% is nothing but 60. I want 112% here. So I'll just correlate these values, 12%, 12 and 60. Numerically, if we'll say the value is 5 times, so I'll take 5 times of this. It is supposed to be nothing but 560, right? So the weight is supposed to be nothing but 560 here. Alright. Next one. Okay. In 2010, a library contained a total of 2010 overall books are nothing but 11500 of two categories. One would be fiction and one is nothing but non-fiction here. And in 2015 it is nothing but 12760. During this period there was 10% increase in the fiction category and 12% increase in the non-fiction category. Right, so first I'll find out what is the overall increment here. Overall increment, if we'll check, also I'll do one thing, I'll just take this number only. Also you can take the complete number also. So take any of these. So suppose if we'll take this number only, 1150 and 1276. If we'll take 1150 and 1276, the increment is nothing but 126. Right, so the increment is 126 out of 1150. Right, so if we'll try to find out, it's approximately 11%, I can say. Right, slightly less than 11% here. 10.9 will be the value here. Right, approximately 10.9%. So what I can do here is it is given that when I'll take fiction and non-fiction, the increment here is 10% and this is 12%, and the value is approximately 11%. Assuming I'll take the value is 11% for the time being, that means this distribution should be in the ratio of 1:1. So how many fiction books were in the library in 2015? So I should find out how many were there in 2010, and then we'll try to increase the value. Suppose it's let's go by the basic analysis first. Suppose it's 10 and 12, that means 11. So there should be in the ratio of 1:1. So if I have 11500 books, so if we'll divide by 2, let's consider. So now here it's nothing but 5 times 7 times, so 5750 approximately. Right, so 5750 is the value available here, and I should increase this value by 10%. Right, so if I'll identify this 5750 and I'm increasing it by 10% approximately, so the value I should increase it by 575. Right, now we can identify this thing that the value is 6325. That means it should be slightly more than 6325. Right, the value which could be slightly more than 6325 is nothing but 6600 here. Second thing is I'm increasing it by 10%. That means the overall value is about 110%. Can I say my value should be a multiple of 11 here? If it's a multiple of 11, I can say 6000 cannot be the answer. Then I have identified that it should be more than 6000. This cannot be the answer here. I am stuck between 6600 and 6160 here. Now here if we'll identify, if we'll take 126 by 1150, it's slightly lesser than 11%, as we have seen this part here. That means the number of fictions will be more than non-fictions here. So that means the number should definitely be more than 5750. If we'll calculate it exactly, it is supposed to be nothing but 6000, and then it's about 6600. My value is supposed to be nothing but 6600. So let's not do the complete calculation, because if we'll take 10.9 and then we'll try to calculate the complete part, it might take some time to work on. So I'll just go through the options to eliminate the values, then I'll work on the other values available here. Right, so let's take the next one. It's a theta format. So in an examination, so theta format, that means it was of CAT 2019, 18, those kind of years. Right. So let's see. In an examination, the score of A was 10% lesser than B. The score of B was 25% more than. So it's basically more a percentage increase and reduction, more than that of C, and the score of C was 20% lesser than of D. If A scores 72, so I know A was 10% lesser than B, so let's fix B here. I'll consider A, B, C and D. So I'll fix B. So as we have seen the first basic rule, I'll keep the value as either 100 or else 1. So let's keep this one as 100. So this is 100, then this value is supposed to be 90 as it is 10% lesser. The score of B was 25% more than that of C. That means C is supposed to be nothing but 80. If 25% more, this is 25% more, just identify 25% got 1 by 4, then the reduction is supposed to be got 1 divided by 4 plus 1, right? So that's something about 1 by 5, which is 20%. So 20% of 100, that means 20 is the reduction. This value is supposed to be 80. And C was 20% lesser than D. That means can I say D should also be equal to 100? Same concept. So it's more a percentage increase and reduction format. So do the mental calculation and you can work on the values. Now if A scored 72, A scored 72 here, I know this is 90 and this is nothing but 72. I know that value is supposed to be nothing but multiplied with 0.8. I'll just multiply with 8 itself. We'll shift the decimals later to get the value as 72. And they're talking about then the score of D. I should multiply this one with 0.8. The value is nothing but 80. It is supposed to be 80, right? So these were the questions which were easy to calculate. You can just identify, analyze, and you can work on the values. Next one. In a class, 60% of students are girls. So girls, I'll just mark girls and boys. So if 60% are girls, that means remaining 40% are nothing but boys. The gap between them will be nothing but 20%. There were 30 more girls than boys. So this 20% as a gap, which is equal to 30, right? So that represents this 40 should be 60 and this 60 should be 90. I can say altogether 150 people were there. If 68% of the students, so 68% of, let's find out 68% of 150. So 68% of 150 will be how much? 102, right? So 102. If 68% of the students, including 30 boys, out of this the boys are nothing but 30, that means the remaining 72 were girls. Pass the examination. The percentage of girls who do not pass. Now you can identify the girls were 90 out of the 72 have passed. That means I can say 80% girls have passed. How many of them have who do not pass it is nothing but 20%, right? My value is supposed to be 20% here. Next one. Meena scored 40% in the examination, and after here you need to be slightly careful. Meena scored, I'll just draw this in a number line, C scored 40%. Even though her score is increased by 50%. 50% of what? 50% of this. That means it is increased by 20% here. It will have an increment of 20 percentage point basically. That means after review the score is supposed to be nothing but 60%. C failed by 35 marks. That means let's say the pass mark is here, which is 35. Sorry, this gap is nothing but 35. If her post review score is increased by 20%, so that means from here it is increased by 20%. That means the new score is supposed to be 72% here, right? So can I say this gap is nothing but 12% here? C will have 7 marks more than C will have 7 marks more. So I'll just identify this thing. This complete gap is nothing but 42. Can I say 42 should represent 12%? The percentage score needed for passing the examination. So percentage score should be at this part. If I'll reduce it by 7, so you'll get the passing mark, right? So here if I'll reduce it by 7, that means this value is nothing but by 6 format. It has to be by 6 here. So 7 should represent 2 percentage point. I should reduce the value by 2 percentage points. So this figure now here will be nothing but 70%. I can say the passing mark is supposed to be nothing but 70%. Next one. In an examination, the maximum possible score is n. So total score is nothing but n here, while the pass mark, let's say pass mark is this one, which is nothing but 45% of n. A candidate obtained 36 mark. The mark is 36 mark here, but falls short of the pass mark by 68%. So of the pass mark, that means this one is nothing but 68%. If this is 68%, that means the pass mark basically here is nothing but 32%, or is the mark here, not pass mark, this mark is 32% of the pass mark. So it is supposed to be 32% of pass mark, basically 32% of 45% of n, right? And that value is supposed to be 36. So let's just work on the numbers available here, or else let's do the basic calculation here. 32 by 100 into 45 by 100 into n is supposed to be 36, right? So I'll just work on this. 4 times, 5 times, 8 times, and this is 20, right? So n value is nothing but 2000 by 8, which is nothing but 250. So the maximum mark is supposed to be 250. It should lie between 243 and 252, right? Basic calculation part. Or else now here you can identify that, let's take 32% of 45, which can be written as 45% of 32. So 45% of 32 will be how much? 50% is 16 minus 1.6, 14.4%, which is equal to 36, and then I can work on the complete value. So I can do the basic mental calculation also, right? So the other way out which we can see is nothing but 45% of 32 if we'll consider, right? So 16 minus 1.6, 14.4% of n is equal to 36. So now I can compare 14.4 with 36 here. 14.4 into 2 is nothing but 28.8. Remaining will be how much? 7.2. So that means 2.5 times. 2.5 times. So 100 into 2.5. 250 will be the value possible, right? So I can do some basic mental calculation also there. Right. Sometimes the questions will be a calculation based question. Out of the shirt produced in the factory, 15% defective. So these are the very easy questions here. 15% defective, that means remaining 85% are useful. So 85 by 100, let's directly mark. While 20% of the rest are sold in the domestic market. So 20% of the rest, that means 20% of these 85 is sold in the domestic market. If the remaining, so remaining will be how much? 80%. 80 by 100 of the total is nothing but 8840, right? 8840 is there. 8840. So here if it's 8840, let's try to calculate. The total is nothing but 8840 into, I'll minimize these values here. So 17 by 20, so that means 20 by 17 here, and this will be nothing but 4 by 5, so 5 by 4. Let's calculate this part. The value is supposed to be good 13,000, right? So it's 13,000 here, right? What are the other things can be done here? Let's check whether we can utilize something else or not. I can just go by some basic assumption also. Like here I'll go for digital sum. 8 plus 5 is 13. 13 is nothing but 1 plus 3 is 4. I'll just trying to utilize digital sum. I'll just add the digits. 8 plus 5, which is nothing but 13. 1 plus 3 is 4. Similarly 8 plus 0 is 8. So here it's 4 into 8 is 32. 3 plus 2 is nothing but 5. So till this I have the digital sum as 5 here, and the digital sum on this part is 8 plus 8 plus 4 plus 0. It's something but 20, that means 2, right? So I want to multiply 5 with something, so that digital sum should be nothing but 2. That's the basic condition, right? So 5 into 1 5, 5 into 2 is 10, that means digital sum is nothing but 1. 5 into 3 is 15. 6, 5 into 4 is nothing but, if you take 5 into 4, that's nothing but 20, that means 2 plus 0. 5 into 5 is not possible. 25 means 2 plus 5 7. 5 into 6 30, no, not possible. 5 into 7 35. 5 plus 3 is 8. 5 into 8 is 44, not possible. 5 into 9 45, that is 9. So the only value which will give me the digital sum as 2 is when I'll multiply 5 with 4. That means my answer should have a digital sum as 4. So here if you'll check 1 plus 3 plus 6 is 9 plus 1 10, that means 1, so it cannot be the answer. 1 plus 3 is 4, can be the answer. 1 plus 3 plus 4 is nothing but 8, cannot be the answer. 1 plus 4 5, cannot be the answer. So I have this value. So if we do not have time to calculate the things, we can also utilize the format of digital sum, right? So that's all for today. Thanks for joining us.